welcome to INCAP, or International Cultural Arts Program, where we learn about different cultures, holidays, and programs through the most iconic and influential people in their industry. Today we are meeting with Mr. Joe Emory. Well, welcome, Joe. Oh, you go, sorry.
I was going to say thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you here. I met with you at a mental health expo on where you were part of the speaking panel, and I was in entertainment. And I just found your input so inspiring and empowering, and I wanted to meet with you on this platform. So thank you so much for being here.
It is my pleasure. I'm honored that you asked. So again, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right, so my first question is you help run the Hot Topic Foundation. So can you just tell us a little bit about that foundation?
Sure. Well, the foundation has been around since about 2004, 2005. I think we made our first grants about 2005, actually. And it was the idea of one of our store managers. And it was originally meant to be a music and arts foundation because music and arts education was being taken into schools. And Hot Topic is a very creative organization, obviously, and we all felt that we needed to give back in some fashion. So that's how it originally started. And then about 6 years ago, um, Ashley Eckstein, who was the founder of Her Universe and a friend of mine, and we bought her company actually, and I were talking about putting in an anti-bullying campaign. And we talked about that for a little bit of time. And then really our CEO and I were talking one day, and he said, I really want to make this a bigger thing than just anti-bullying. I think we should talk about mental health because it's just a huge epidemic, a huge issue. We deal with a lot of issues internally with our people. So that's how the mental health part came into effect. So now it's about music and arts education and mental health awareness. So that's a little bit about the foundation.
And mental health is such, I mean, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, but mental health is something that we should be like gaining awareness to all year long, because there are so many people. I mean, everybody has their own mental health problems in some shape or form. So what you're doing is very inspiring.
Thank
So
you.
how does the Hot Topic Foundation impact our community as a whole?
Well, a couple of different things. We support two major mental health organizations, one being Mental Health America, and we sponsor a proprietary URL that we pass out cards in our stores actually that have the suicide prevention hotline on there, as well as this proprietary URL, and that we drive about 50 to 60 to 70,000 young people every single year to that URL, and which is it's a great tool because there's a great analytical tool and tons of resources on there. So anybody can come into our store, ask for a card. We pass them out all the time and just say they're struggling. So that's one way. We also impact the community through the Trevor Project. Trevor Project is the largest LGBTQ suicide prevention organization in the country, and we work with them pretty heavily as well. So, and then we do a lot of other small things too, like the event that you and I met at is a smaller event, and sometimes those come into play where we're able to make a donation or a grant of some type, whether that's product and or money, and then they usually ask me to come and speak on a panel or talk about what it is that we do. And it's a good way to spread the word about the Hot Topic Foundation and all the work that we do around that. Mental Health America is a great organization, and again, most of the people that we push to our proprietary URL at Mental Health America are between the ages of 11 to 16. So it's definitely our demographic, and definitely many young people are just struggling. So we try to help people before they reach that part of their life where they're thinking about suicide and or harming, themselves in some fashion. And that is something that I deal with on a weekly basis. I get calls from our store managers or district managers all the time where somebody has harmed themselves, cut themselves, and what do we do? How do we help them? So, and then again, we also have an employee assistance program in our organization that need to call and say they work for Hot Topic, and we can provide them with similar health resources as well.
Well, I'm glad that you're able and willing to take those calls because I know a lot of people who struggle with thoughts of harming or suicide, and they don't really have a lot of people to talk to. So it, especially with the workplace, so it's
Well,
really great that you do that.
it's a fine line that we walk as employers, and to not get too invasive, and some people are very private around their health issues, whether they're medical, physical, or mental. And but if somebody reaches out to me, I definitely will take those phone calls and talk with them and try to provide help, in some fashion. I think you heard me talk about somebody that I spent some time with on the telephone who was going to drive over an overpass and kill themselves. And I spent a lot of time on the phone with them, just telling them, I'm not going to hang up the telephone until you promise me you're going to call the suicide prevention hotline. And fortunately, they did. And sent me an email later on saying, thank you for spending the time with me. And you're right. Remember, some folks just don't. I met your mother, and your mother is a very involved parent and loves you dearly. I could tell. Some folks, some young people don't have parents to talk with or anyone to talk with. And it can be just a friend. It doesn't have to be an adult who thinks they know it all, because I don't know everything. Sometimes it's just a friend they need to be able to reach out and just say, I'm struggling, and hopefully that friend gives them a resource or helps them or leads them to some sort of help, because it's to lose somebody to suicide is dreadful. It is dreadful. We've had it happen at Hot Topic, and it hurts my heart. So,
Well, I'm sorry for your loss.
you know.
Um, so, what role do you play in the Hot Topic Foundation?
Well, I'm the chair of the foundation, so I kind of lead the foundation and have now for several years. It's truly become my passion, to be quite honest with you. I've been in human resources for 35 years, and I'd like to eventually work my way out of that, and really share the foundation completely so I could do more work around it, do a lot more PR around it, let people know what it is that we do, what we stand for, how we help people. But I am kind of the lead. I'm the face of the foundation. I go to events, as you saw. I'm on a number of advisory boards. We just came back from the Little Kids Rock Gala in New York, where we helped them raise quite a bit of money. Um,
Fun.
yeah, it's great actually. Little Kids Rock is very near and dear to my heart. Dave Wish, actually, who's the founder, was just in the office yesterday for a few minutes, talking to me about a couple of things, and he wanted to propose for 2023. So I'm kind of the lead, and I kind of took it over very organically, because it's just something that's very important to me. I'm a huge believer in giving back when I can. I do it a lot personally, and I do quite a bit professionally as well, because I just think it's the right thing to do. And the older I get, the more important I see that it is, to help somebody or put a hand out or let somebody know that there is opportunity out there, or help out there, resources out there, whatever those things may be. I take calls from organizations that I know that we're probably not going to work with, but I like to connect people as well, because not one foundation can do everything. We don't have the bandwidth. No organization does. I'll take calls from organizations I'm not sure fit into our wheelhouse, but I will talk with them and see if I can connect them with somebody who might be able to help them. So it's really become my passion of something that I think for the rest of my life I would like to do more of, actually.
That's great. And how did you become involved with the Hot Topic Foundation?
Well, I've been with Hot Topic for soon to be 22 years. I can't believe it. I've been with Hot Topic longer than you've been around, as I recall. Um, it was one of those things where when the foundation first started, I was not on the board. I always donated through payroll deduction, but I wasn't on the board. Probably around 10 years ago, maybe actually longer than that, probably, there was an opportunity to join the board. And of course, I wanted to do that. And so I joined the board. And then as things changed, the organization changed, different ideas, I just kind of organically kind of took it over and became the lead. I call myself chair. I'm really the lead of the foundation. And it has been truly a blessing for me to be able to do that. Because when I see the power, when I see the impact of what it is that we do, whether it's arts or music education, when I see a young person up there performing, playing their heart out, as I saw you singing your heart out that day, that just brings me. I love music. I love music and always have, and I love art. And I don't have the talent to do either, but it's always very important to me. And I think music and art education changes lives and actually impacts people for the better and helps with mental health. And then the mental health piece is simple. I mean, that's a no-brainer. When I found out the very first year we worked with Mental Health America, that we had driven almost 65,000 young people to our proprietary URL, that was really meaningful to me because I believe that we probably, if we didn't save a life, I know that we probably impacted a few lives in a positive way. That's the importance of it. And that's why I do it.
Along with mental health, music is something that is very big with the Hot Topic Foundation and Hot Topic in general, which is one reason I love Hot Topic. But music is something that can be very, very healing and impactful on a person's life. So, what is your favorite story? I guess what I'm trying to say is, what is your favorite story that you've heard um, about someone who has healed through music?
Well, I think that, well, I will give you the most recent example I can think of, and that's when we were at the Little Kids Rock Gala. John Resnick, who is the lead singer and songwriter for the Goo Goo Dolls, was one of the honorees. And his music teacher talked about, it's actually very touching. His music teacher was there who really kind of inspired him and helped him. John had written a number of poems that this music teacher actually read and went back and told him, these are really good. This is really great stuff. And when John got up to, before he performed, he did a presentation and talked about how music really saved his life. That he was a screw up, he said, in high school. He didn't like high school, but music really helped him because he was an outcast. He was different. And so music really helped save his life and it impacted him. And I've heard that from, I've met, Monkey from Korn. He said the same thing. I've heard that from so many, professional musicians where, music is so impactful and really does help to save a person's life. It helped me, when I was bullied as a child in school. And again, we didn't have social media, so it was only in school. I could go home and put on my headphones and listen to music, and that took me to a different place. I didn't have to think about the bullying and the teasing I put up with as a child. So it's very healing, and it can really help someone, because if you immerse yourself in music, no matter what type of music it is you love or like, it takes you to a different place. Like when I saw you sing and you were, singing Disney songs, I can tell that you love Disney and kind of just like the Disney princesses, actually, which I was very impressed. And that probably takes you to a whole different place, when you're learning those songs and singing those songs and you hit those notes. It makes you feel really great about the person that you are. And that gives you, I think, the strength to go on and do what it is you need to do every single day. Because life is not easy, as we all know. And so music, I think, is very healing. I listen to a lot of music because I'm working from home by myself, and I'll hear a song, and I'll stop and think about where I was at that time when I heard that song for the very first time, or when I saw it performed live for the very first time, or whatever. And it just is magical. I guess that's the best way to say it. Music is a magical healing experience. Sounds a little corny, but I really believe that.
Oh, it's not corny at all. When I was little, whenever I was bullied in school or like something happened that was like hurtful or impactful in my life, I would always turn on Billy Gilman's Christmas album
Mhm.
because Christmas was the time that I loved the most. And whenever like I'm having a bad day or something, I will turn on Kelly Clarkson's Christmas album now and just rock out to Kelly Clarkson. I mean, her voice is beautiful. I love her voice. So yeah, I mean,
It's just something that is I've never understood it when someone said they're not a lover of music or don't listen to music or have never gone to a concert. I know people that are my age who've never gone to a concert before, and it's amazing to me because it just takes you to a different place. It's just so impactful for me, and I truly do love music, so I appreciate that as well because when you're listening to Christmas music, I have a friend who listens to Christmas music from the 1st of November all the way through January. So,
I would start listening when I was little. I would start listening in June,
mhm.
and I would blast it in my room, and my mom would be like, "Honey, it's summer. Enjoy the now. Enjoy the now." And so I would change up the lyrics, and I would like start singing summery lyrics to the Christmas songs.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. From someone who loves music and loves Christmas music, I do as well. There's nothing wrong with that.
My mom was like, "Okay, you've one up me. You can listen to it. It doesn't matter anymore." So I met you at a mental health expo, and you were speaking out about mental health. So how did you get involved and become a mental health advocate? Was it just through the foundation, or were you doing work previous?
Somewhat through the foundation, although for the longest, I think I said this actually when I was on the panel that day. I didn't know what self-harming, and I've been in human resources a long time, as I said, over 35 years, and I've always been in employee relations and training and development, so I worked with always with people. I didn't know what self-harming was or cutting was until I joined Hot Topic. And that is because Hot Topic has always been the champion of hiring people that maybe didn't fit in other places. We made it okay to have tattoos and piercings and green hair and be who you are and work in the mall. And so we've always had, edgy and creative and maybe different people working for us. And I enjoy that tremendously. But in working with the company for so many years and hearing the stories, of people that are struggling, it just became very, very apparent to me that it was so important. And I studied psychology a bit in college. I thought I was going to be a psychologist at first until I realized you needed to have a PhD, and I'm not smart enough to do that. But I've always had a huge interest in psychology and a huge interest in mental health, because I think the mind is a very powerful thing. It can take you down or it can lift you up, as we all know. I think it has a healing power also. I really believe that. So, and I've seen people go through struggles, personally and professionally, and it just became apparent that we needed more advocates out there for mental health. And then with the pandemic that we've all lived through, um, and we're still not through it, there's been so much written about, the anxiety that young people, especially, or people that have been isolated, are dealing with today. And I think that's going to continue for quite some time, unfortunately. So for me, it's just a very important subject to talk about. And it worked perfectly in the foundation because, as I said, I've always said music is mental health. to many individuals, and music has saved people's lives. So it was easy to kind of put the two together and say, this is what our foundation is going to stand for. I hope I answered that okay.
No, yeah, you did. Of course. There's no wrong answer. um, so, what kind of projects does the Hot Topic support? You mentioned the Trevor Project and the gala you just went to, but what other projects does it support?
Well, as I said, with Mental Health America, we help support the URL and help to support some of their analytical tools online. So we do that, through our grants. Uh, with Little Kids Rock, it's really about, we're probably their, well, I know we are, we're their largest and longest sustaining donor. And we have probably impacted, just with what we've donated over the years, I would be willing to say probably 500,000 young people with music education, at least. Because we've been with them for so long and helped them start. With Notes for Notes, we were with them when we opened up their second music studio in Santa Barbara, and now there are 23 studios across the country that are all Skyped together, so young people can actually write music together, sing together, jam together, because they're full on recording studios with a recording studio, a rehearsal space, and then an educational space as well, because they each have music directors that are actually teaching music. So and again, we've been with them since their second studio, so over 10 years now. And then with the Trevor Project, we are going to have, I'm very happy to say that somebody I met at a design con, his name is Tony Tran. He's a great young man. He and his fiance. He has an organization called In My Feelings. And it's a mental health emoji kind of thing. You have to Google In My Feelings and look up Tony Tran. He's designing our pronoun pin this year for the Trevor Project. It will help to raise money for the Trevor Project as well. So, and also with Pride Month, we are raising money for the Trevor Project through our Pride merchandise that we're selling. So we get involved in lots of different things. We also raised money for World Central Kitchen last month, which our sister company, Box Lunch, works with food insecurity with Feeding America, but we also worked last month with World Central Kitchen. So there's a lot of things that happen all the time. And there's lots of small projects too that I work on. There's an organization that reached out to me called In Tempo in Connecticut that they lost out on the grant and they needed some money to help some English as a second language, young people from South America with getting the schooling and music education as well. I've worked with them. There's a couple of different music camps we're going to work with this year as well that are for the LGBT community. There's all different types of projects that we have going on at any one given time. It just depends on, my job is to balance the checkbook and figure out if we have enough money for all. so I have to pick and choose, and it's my hardest job. The hardest job for me is saying no to an organization. That's the most difficult thing for me to do, is to say no to an organization, because there's so many needy organizations out there. I think there's 1.1 million nonprofits in this country, and most of them do great work, and they all need support. And so I have to. My mantra is to stick within our mission statement and stick with younger people. So it's mostly about youth, obviously, because young people are the future of this country, this world. And so we need to impact young people as best we can and positively we can all the time. That's where that comes into. It's really about young folks. So I don't get into Mental Health America is a little bit different, but we found out we're handing out the Hot Topic Foundation cards in the stores that we are sending young people to that analytical tool. So we don't get involved with organizations that help older people, because that's not really necessarily in our wheelhouse. It's not our demographic. Not that those organizations aren't important, because they are. It's that we stick to younger folks and trying to help them.
This is an extra question, but I did want to ask you about it. Have you possibly like seen an influx in people reaching out in like the past couple of weeks because of everything that's going on in the world right now?
Mhm. That's very true. We have. I have four in my inbox right this very second. I just talked with somebody yesterday from a small chapter in North Carolina from a suicide prevention hotline. I've never talked to them before, but I do give them a call, and we're going to set up something to discuss further. There's been a lot during the pandemic, especially. There was a lot that came my way because no nobody had any money to give out. We had limited funds because the stores were all closed, obviously, for a period of time. But we had some money because I try to stay pretty frugal throughout the year. So I have money to use for things that come my way that I think are important or our way that are important. But yeah, the last few weeks, there's been a lot more outreach. That is absolutely 100% true. Um, I don't have the answer. I'm not smart enough to figure out what the answer is about gun violence. I'm not pro having firearms or anti having firearms. I can't make those decisions for anybody, but I think that there is um, a great need, and we need to figure out what takes those people to that point where they need to become mass murderers. Is the best way I can say it because I can't think of any other way to say it. There needs to be more money and education and counselors. I don't think there should be more guns on campus. I think there needs to be more counselors on campus. I think that every single school in this country needs to have a psychiatrist or psychologist on staff every single day to help the teachers and help people, help young people go through what they're going through. Um, we don't have that today. You don't have a school nurse. We don't even have school nurses today in every single school, which baffles my mind because when I was a kid, I'm older, there was a school nurse. Today there are schools that don't even have school nurses. So I think there's so much we need to put into the education system. It's just not there any longer. But yeah, there's a lot. We've had a lot more people reach out recently because they're looking for funding. They're looking for help, and there's just a lot going on in the world. And even if we can't impact, you and I can't impact the war that's going on in Ukraine, I know that's causing anxiety for a lot of people. That's causing mental health issues in this country. Can you imagine the mental health issues it's causing for people that live in the surrounding countries that are in fear of a nuclear war or fear of whatever? There's a lot going on, and yeah, so the influx and more calls, absolutely.
Especially in schools, I feel like we should definitely keep a lot of the arts in the schools because um, not only like with music and art, but also with acting. Because as an actor, I feel like I can connect with people a lot more. Like, I don't know, because you have to put yourself in other people's shoes
Mm-hmm.
and really think about other people. And I'm an empath. That's just the way that I see the world. And I think that acting could help a lot of people connect with other people. And um, like, even if you don't want to be an actor, even if that's not what you want to do in life, I feel like acting or music or any type of art can really help you connect with other people. And so, what you're doing is very inspiring. So, thank you so much.
Well, you're welcome. I mean, the reality of it, you hit the nail on the head. It helps people connect with other folks. It also gives you an outlet, and it also helps you find. I hear this word a lot, and John Resnick used it as well. He found his tribe in music, and you find your like you have. You're a performer, and you probably have other friends that are performers, and you kind of come together because you have this mutual love for performance, whatever that happens to be. And also, music and arts education. Okay, it brings people to school. Kids don't go to school to learn reading, writing, and arithmetic. They go to school for the fun stuff. So so it keeps them engaged. And not everyone is going to be a nuclear scientist. Not everyone is going to be a psychiatrist or psychologist or school teacher. So the creative arts brings people and keeps young people in school, you know. So I think, you know, and I've never done studies on this, so I don't know, I may be speaking out of turn, but my gut tells me that schools that have these types of programs, their dropout rate's probably much lower because these kids have a reason to go to school. It's like when I went to there's a Miramonte school, which is really in a tough part of Los Angeles. It's on the outskirts of Watts, basically. Is and they were in the news a few years ago for some terrible stuff. I've gone up there a couple of times. They have a great music educator, and there was a little kids rock program in there. And when those little kids are on the stage performing, and you know they go home probably to some pretty tough things potentially, they're like little rock stars. You couldn't. They are rock stars up there, and it just warms your heart. You know, I've sat in the audience many times tearing up because I'm a big softie, but because these kids are just playing their hearts out, you know, because of this after school music program, which seems like a very simple thing, but it's huge, I think, in these young people's lives. And I've had parents, you know, most times I've been there, I've been on stage giving a presentation or something. And as I'm leaving and walking through the audience, I have parents come up to me and say, my child behaves differently now because of this music program. Thank you. And I've heard that more than once. I mean, that's just not one time. I hear that all the time. So I know that music and arts education helps young people. I know it, and it doesn't take the smartest person in the world to figure it out. I just wish our educators would figure it out and figure out how to pay for it, you know, more so, because not one organization like the Hot Topic Foundation, we can't be in every single school. But this year, well, Little Kids Rock will touch probably 1 million kids this year. Notes for Notes will probably touch another 6,500 every single week through music education. So we're doing as much as we can through these two organizations, but there's so much more, you know, to do.
So, a lot of the people that do watch these interviews are younger people, and um, as a younger person, there's not like a lot that you can do to like donate or volunteer your time to different places. So, what are some things that we can do in everyday life to help impact our community for the better? In your words.
Be kind. That's the best way I can say it. Be kind to people. Always put yourself in their place and walk in their shoes. Don't don't be so judgmental. Don't bully. There's a great school up in Mission Hills called James Monroe High School, and Annie, and I can never pronounce her last name. She's known as Mrs. B. Um, um, puts on a program every single year called Cool to Be Kind, and this was the first year I was able to actually attend the event. Um, and what's so great about it is the turnout was huge because they have support for the LGBTQ community. They had mental health help there. We provided them some gifts, you know, for raffles and things. And the young people were incredibly great. Number one, I mean, every young person I met was just like, oh my God, these kids are great. Um, I think it's just really being kind, you know, smiling to somebody, opening a door for somebody who's in a wheelchair or is having a struggle with, you know, getting into a door, smiling at somebody, asking how someone's day is. If you are great at acting or singing or playing the piano or an instrument, and someone's interested in learning that, give them a couple free lessons or tell them I'll help you or I'll teach you, because there's things, you know, probably, Amber, that maybe somebody else doesn't. And so if you could mentor somebody, even at your very young age, in acting or singing or what you do, that could impact somebody's life forever. So even though you're a young person, you know, we didn't have any money growing up, but my mother always gave back and she believed in giving back. I think that's kind of innate in my there's in myself. It doesn't have to be always money. It doesn't always have to be anything big. It can be something very small, cooking somebody a meal, you know, buying somebody a lunch, buying them a Coke. Again, walking home from school with them and having a conversation. That's a way of giving back. If even that person's struggling, go to the person who was the outcast in the school and become their friend. How great is that? You know, because that person's struggling, you'll make a friend and you'll learn something about someone else. So there's so much you can do that could go on actually, but there's just so much you can do. It doesn't cost, and it's just a little, I always call them random acts of kindness. And I truly believe in doing that. You know, it's like I was in the market the other day for a small example. I had a basket full of stuff. There was a guy behind me that had three things. I let him go in front of me. And he's, are you sure? Of course. Why not? You have three things. I got a basket full of stuff. So, you know, why would you not do that for somebody? Those little things that you do make a huge impact for a person's day and their life potentially. So there's so much I think a young person, again, you and I could have a whole conversation just around that because I think there's so much that you can do as a young person. Don't think because you are not 21 yet or an adult or don't have your own money or whatever that you can't give back because you can give back in so many ways.
I like to do something where I love to challenge myself. Like on my 17th birthday, I did this last year, but I do it like for random days too. But this was like my biggest one where I did 17 random acts of kindness in one day. And it was like, I don't know, like buying the person's coffee in front of me or like leaving I made like notes
Mm-hmm.
of just like you're doing great, keep going, like stuff like that, and I put them in different like stores and stuff for people to find, or
Mm-hmm.
like even leaving pennies on the ground for little kids to find. I feel like when you're little and you find a penny on the floor, that's like the
You know,
best thing in your life.
big deal. But you know, when you think about that, what a great thing that you did. And if every single person would commit to doing one random act of kindness every single day, I would venture to guess the world would be a better place. It has to be. You know, if every single person just, you know, and sometimes, you know, we get wrapped up, you know, commuting, for example, you know, I don't do as much commuting as I used to, but you know, some of the catch. I always try to drive with. I drive with a purpose, but I always try to be respectful of somebody, you know, and not cutting them off or whatever. Even if you do that, or you let somebody, when any time a person lets me into a lane, I always wave and you know, mouth thank you to them because that's a big deal. Because I know they're in a hurry as well as I am. So I think that anything you do that just is a kind act is so important. So I love your idea, even if you did it on your birthday, you know, whatever age you were. Of course, at my age, I'd be doing a lot of them, but but I think it's a cool thing to do to challenge yourself to do to say to yourself, what can I do today to make someone smile? And that may just mean smiling at somebody. That may just mean, you know, buying their coffee, you know, a couple of dollars, you know, buying their coffee, whatever that is. And that impacts somebody because people aren't expecting it. People are expecting the opposite usually. So when you do something really, really great like that, which is, again, is such a small thing, it may change their entire day or week. Never know. So that's a great thing you're doing. I like that you did that. Very
I mean,
good.
I give all credit to my mom and my sister. My sister is so funny. A couple years ago, she would every single day try to do something.
Mhm.
Um, like one time, she really liked the tomatoes she was eating, so she sent a thank you letter to the tomato company, and like just random things like that. And I don't know. I guess it just like stuck in my brain. That's like something cool to do. But yeah, like I don't know. I think it's really important just to give back, and especially show young kids that giving back is something that's cool.
Mhm.
Um, yeah.
You know, I think that, you know, when you're younger, and I was guilty of this as well, you know, you kind of get you kind of get enamored by the flash of something or shininess of something, the newness of something. But really, an old-fashioned value of just saying thank you or being courteous or being kind or opening a door for, I do that all the time, open door for people, male and female. I don't care. I open the door for somebody. If I'm in front of them, I'm going to open the door from them. All that stuff is so important, and it just might make that person's day. So I think it's incredibly powerful and incredibly important to challenge yourself. I love that idea to do just a random act of kindness. So for all your listeners out there that are going to listen to this, just do one small thing. And maybe that turns into two things a day. Maybe that turns into three things a day. And maybe you have a whole group of people doing that kind of thing. I mean, when I was a kid, the little kid, I used to mow lawns, and there was a lady next door, and I knew she didn't have a lot of money, and I didn't have a lot of money either. But I used to mow her lawn for free. But she always made lunch for me, and she always thanked me, and she let me help her pick out her wallpaper for her kitchen one time. I was a fine 11 years old, but and what it was a fun thing to do, it wasn't like and I think that, and she was older, and it was just kind of a nice thing to do. I would drag my lawnmower over there and mow the grass. And I'd wash people when I was a kid. I used to wash someone's car. I remember my mom had a friend who was an Avon lady, and she said, "How much do you charge for washing cars?" I said, "Well, I'll wash your car for free. I'm not going to charge you anything for it." Again, it's just do something nice. I think that's important. Just doing something nice for somebody is important, and it helps with their mental health and your mental health as well.
Well, I think that that's a really good thing to end on. So, if people want to learn more about the Hot Topic Foundation and how they can help, how would they do so?
Well, they can ask any of our employees in our stores, certainly. They can go to our website, hottopic.com, and there is a link to the foundation. And if we're doing anything for Trevor Project or selling a special t-shirt or whatever, they'll find that there, usually on the landing page. You can reach out to me, although I don't want 50 million emails, but if you want to send me an email, you can do that as well. Joe Emory, Emory at hottopic.com. It's pretty easy. My first initial, last name. And I answer every single email I do get eventually. But the best way would be going to a store, ask our people, go on the website. So there's a link. And then if you have any questions, you certainly can contact me. I'll be more than happy to have a conversation with you through email or even sometimes live. Or if you have an idea about something, give me a shout out, because I like little ideas that turn into maybe bigger things. Sometimes you have to plant a seed and it turns into something greater. And sometimes I will talk to somebody, I'll go, I don't know if that will work exactly, but let me think about it for a second. Then I turn it into something else. So you just never know. Or if you know of an organization that you think might fit into the Hot Topic Foundation wheelhouse, or you're struggling with mental health issues, please go to Mental Health America or MHA.org and check out their analytical tools. Call the Trevor Project. They do great work. Suicide prevention hotline. If you're struggling, you can get a card, in one of our stores. So please do so.
Well, thank you so much for meeting with us today. It was wonderful hearing your story. And thank you, all of you, for watching. Stay happy, stay safe, and stay kind. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.